Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to the final video of 2024. I've got to say, this year in terms of content, there wasn't much going on here between me and y'all. I'm gonna be honest, 2024 was a very hard year. I feel like I isolated a lot, and in turn, I have a list of books that I have read over the time that I have been away. If you're still here, thank you so much for being here. If you're new, hi, my name is Liz. I do a lot of chaotic content on this channel. I just haven't really been in the right headspace to be here with you guys, but I think we're getting back to a good groove. So I'm gonna start with the middiest of the mid books that I've read this year. I have 5 books in the mid pile. This is gonna be the mid pile, and it includes some books that I got maybe 10-15 pages into it and I was like, this is not for me. First up, we have If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nolan. So right off the bat, this feels like it was written for a YA audience, and I am not YA. I am 31 years old. I don't know how this ended up on my TBR. Like, I don't know. I saw it on sale for Black Friday on Amazon and I was like, maybe it's gonna be good. Let me just go in blind. Bad idea for this one. DNF'd it. So, whatever. Next up, we have Lurk by Adam Vine. This was described as like a horror set for like college students, which it's intriguing. I like most types of horror. So this started my trend of reading thrillers with characters that are extremely unlikable. Like, this is a cringe book about a main character who is unattractive, unappealing to all the people around him, and then everyone around him is really hot. So it turns out that he's kind of like an incel-y character, and it like shows. It's basically from his point of view, and he hates women. He basically just hates women because they won't fuck him. And it's a little weird because there's a supernatural plot that I really enjoyed, but it was just heavily incel vibes, and then the supernatural aspect felt like it took a backseat. I wanted more of the supernatural shit, because what was really cool that I enjoyed about this is that he finds a box of Polaroids in the basement of the house that he's staying in for college one year, and these pictures basically are showing him like scenes from a past, and he's able to interact with these pictures. And then he eventually comes across a camera. This camera allows him like vision into other people's lives, and essentially he just spends like all his time looking at these pictures and spying on his friends. And like, the ending isn't very, like, it's pretty unsettling. I don't know, dude, this was just really mid because of what it chose to focus on. If it had focused a little more on like the supernatural aspect as opposed to like what this camera was making him into, like it basically created a monster. I was glued to this book for the first half, and then I just became mid. I had high hopes for that one and it disappointed me. Another book that I had high hopes for that ended up disappointing me was Never Lie by Frida McFadden. Now, don't get me wrong, I enjoy books where the main character is like an unreliable narrator, but this one, like, I couldn't suspend my disbelief with this one because the twist is so absurd. It's so nonsensical. You would have to ignore a lot for this twist to have made sense. And I'm not the type of person that can do that. And it's gonna show in the list that I have for top 10, because a lot of the time what breaks these books for me is like the lack of immersion. Like, it takes you out. It takes you out of it when you're trying to follow the plot, and it goes back and forth between past and present time. And then, let me just get into the spoilers with this one. You end up finding out that Trisha, who snuck into this home, she was the patient of the person who was murdered there, and she turns out to be the murderer. Like, why? stupid ass twist, okay? Next on the mid pile is The Kind Worth Killing by Peter Swanson. The problem with this book is that I really wanted to like it. This is another one that follows the formula of these main characters are all insufferable, they're all terrible people, and you're not really rooting for anyone. It's pretty low stakes. And then the main character gets murdered in like the first half, which was really cool. I was like, hell yeah, let's do the ballsy thing and murder the person who is plotting a murder. It's great. I loved that. And then the other MC gets like really sloppy, and for whatever reason she kamikazes herself at the end in ways that I just don't understand. Because you're gonna tell me that so there's two main characters of this story, okay? There's Ted and there's Lily. They meet on a plane and they discuss plans to kill Ted's wife, who happens to be cheating on him. What was really cool in the beginning was that plot twist where it's like, oh shit, so Ted is the main character, but Ted can catch these hands. Ted is murdered in the story, and it turns out that, you know, before him and Lily are able to bring out the plot against his wife, somehow the affair partner of his wife ends up murdering him. Juicy, bro. I was eating this shit up. And then Lily, who is supposed to be the expert in terms of murder because she has murdered people before, she gets mad fucking sloppy, bro. Like, we all knew that Miranda had to die, we knew that Brad had to die, but this bitch tries to kill a detective. Like, if you were this smart and this conniving and this able to like have the balls to just show up at a place where nobody fucking knows you so you can get to the bottom of a murder that happened because you were trying to murder another person, like, it devolved very fast, and that's why it's in the mid pile. Now this one might get me shot by book talk. This is not gonna go over well. Fantastic Land. So this book, I have seen this book recommended far and wide by so many horror pages on IG, so many people that I follow and that I look for book recs from. This was on a lot of people's like best horror for this year list, and I couldn't get into it, y'all. I forced myself to finish this because I purchased it. I bought it on sale for Black Friday, but let me just explain to you what it was about this book that I just couldn't get into. I find that the interview style can work for certain books. For this one, it wasn't there for me. I just think it left a lot to be desired. I felt like all the characters' point of views that we were reading from, like, they all felt very one note, very like flat, no personality. Like, the tone was just the same across the board, and I don't know if that's a product of maybe this like being better in an audiobook format, which I read a lot in like other reviews that I was reading after I read this, because I could not for the life of me understand why I didn't like this book. The premise is great. I love the idea of there being like this battle royale, like Hunger Games style like animosity between all the people that were there, because, you know, scarcity mindset in terms of like disasters, people tend to act wild. People get unruly, people get murderous sometimes even. I don't know. I'm not sure if this would have benefited from like maybe a first person POV and not like going back and forth through so many people's point of view, because I guess these like interviews took place like months after the people were rescued and everyone isn't in Fantastic Land anymore. So all these stories could be like subject to some like bad memories and stuff. Like, I don't know what it is. It didn't capture me the way I was expecting it to. I will say I really enjoyed the hotel chapter where there's this person who goes to stay at one of the hotels that's near the theme park, and they find themselves trapped in there with like two people that are like implied cannibals. They like bring people there to torture them, and then this person is like almost coming face to face with these people. He's probably gonna be their next victim, and then he escapes, and then we don't hear anything about that ever again. Like, I think that's one of the things that I just really didn't like about this book, where it's like it left so much up to you to interpret, and it's like I would have enjoyed more facts. Maybe that's what was good about it for a lot of people. A lot of people enjoy the mystery. I personally, not a fan of the mystery. I want more. I want more information. I want more in terms of, I just want more. I don't know. Like, usually when I'm reading something, I will blow through it in a few days if like I'm really interested. This felt like pulling teeth to get through, and that's just, I don't enjoy that. Could have DNF'd it, but I was like, man, I bought it. I should probably, you know, get through it. And then another book that I have on my mid list was What Have You Done by Matthew Farrell. I found it on Kindle Unlimited and it was free. So like, this is the cover of the book. Honestly, I was mad when I finished it. Like, that was one of those books where you're just like, why did I spend all this time? But thankfully, I was on vacation in DR with my mom while I was reading that, so no anger. It just felt like I could have spent that time that I spent on that book, I could have spent it elsewhere. All right, let's get into the top 10. Okay, so at the number 10 spot, we have The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I enjoyed it. Like, for the number 10 spot, I'm gonna say this was like a really good popcorny thriller where like it felt like you knew where this was going a lot of the time, but then you would come across a twist and you'd be like, hold on, wait a second, that doesn't make any damn sense. And then a few pages later you turn it again and there's another plot twist. This one had twists on twists on twists, and I'm gonna be honest, the reason why this is at number 10 and not like number 6 or number 5 is because of the ending. I hated the ending. For the most part, the journey of this book was really fun, but the ending fucking pissed me off. It pissed me off so bad. We aren't gonna get into it. If you're into popcorn thrillers where you think you know where it's going and then you don't, this might be the book for you. I'll give a spoiler-free summary real quick. So this book is about a caregiver named Kit. She is going to work on a new assignment. She has secrets from her past that she's keeping, and then she has a new assignment that she can't say no to. She has to go, and it turns out that she is going to be caring for somebody who has been suspected of murder for the last like 60 years of her life. Kit comes through, she becomes her caregiver, and a lot of things start to happen. So if that interests you, I'd recommend it. Just the ending might piss you off. At number 9, we have another popcorn thriller that I finished in one day, The Guest List by Lucy Foley. So this book was on a lot of lists also. This was really fun. Usually when I'm reading a book, I don't really go for the vibes, but man, this one was juicy. If you're into a murder mystery where it kind of doesn't give you anyone to root for, it's just a straightforward mystery, someone died, you need to figure out who it is that did it. This was really fun. I did guess who the killer was like midway through this book, and it kind of like, you know, it feels nice to be able to predict patterns, but I knew who it was with this one. I did enjoy all the character plot lines. There was no character development. Everyone starts shitty and ends shitty, but overall it was just like a really fun read. If you're looking for something to get you out of a book slump, this is a good one. Number 8 is a splatterpunk book, and this might not be like anyone's cup of tea, but I enjoyed it. It's called The Summer I Died by Ryan C. Lewis. I wasn't expecting this one because of where it gets violent. So the first like 100 or so pages are kind of giving you characterization for the main characters. You have I don't even remember their names, but this shit was like, it was fucked up. The kid's best friend, his name was Tooth. I don't remember the main character's name, to be honest, which is, it's fucked up. But the reason why I don't remember is because the main event of this book is the villain. His name is, he's called the Skinny Man, but this man is ruthless, diabolical, disgusting, frankly mentally ill. Just quick spoiler-free summary. The main character and his best friend Tooth, they're off for the summer. They don't have college, and he goes back home. The main character comes back home from college and he wants to visit his best friend, and they spend the summer, the first few weeks of the summer, like shooting cans in the woods and just, you know, catching up, having a nice time. One day while they're shooting cans in the woods, they come across like a scream in the woods, and they're like, what the hell is that? So one of them is like, we should probably ignore it and just leave. And then the other one is like, we should go see if someone like needs help. So they go, they follow the scream, and bad things happen. Like really bad things. There's a part in here where I literally was like, what the fuck am I reading right now? Let's just say there's a lot of death, there's a lot of gore, there's a lot of implied essay happening here. Yeah, it was pretty dark, but I finished it very quickly. I was on vacation with my mom and I read this, and I'm not gonna lie, being out in the woods in DR, being out in the sticks and reading this book, there were a few nights where I had some trouble sleeping. So I would recommend it if you're into like horror movies, like gore in movies, because there's some passages in this that you can like picture, and it's not pretty. Okay, I'm just gonna say that, it's not pretty. Next on the list is Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. This one I borrowed from a friend and I read it in like a week. It was really good. I felt like the podcast, like the premise of this book, like being the outline of a podcast, someone actually interviewing people about a murder that happened, and then finally meeting the person who's suspected of murder, and then like getting her side of things. It was a great premise. The execution could have been a little better, but I loved it. Wild ride from start to finish, and guessing who the actual person who did it was actually pretty hard. And once we get to the reveal of who it was, yeah, I had found out who it was, but it didn't ruin the reveal at all. It was like, yeah, of course, it couldn't have been anyone else. And then you like point out all the red herrings of who it could have been, and you're just like, yeah. Like it felt good. It was a good read, fun experience. Next is In My Dreams, I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. I wasn't expecting to like this book as much as I did. I really wasn't. Going into this, I thought that it was gonna be like just a regular run-of-the-mill thriller, an unsolved murder that you have to find out. And I'm gonna be honest, I was not ready for where this went. I wasn't at all. So this book is about a girl, her name is Jessica, and she feels like she needs to prove herself so badly to this group of friends that she had, that she went to college with. She's always been like this insecure girl who like feels like everyone else is more beautiful, everyone has shit going for them, and she's just like, whatever. I read this like right before my slew of other thrillers that I read this year, and I think this is like one of my favorites. Mostly because the main character is no one to root for. Like you're not rooting for Jessica in the least bit, and in some parts you actually think that she did do it. There were parts toward the end where I was between like two people that could have done it. But then like the more that you unravel the story, it makes sense that it was him. It's just wild how like in college or in high school, anywhere, you know that it's mostly a game of telephone, like people just talking about each other, and the story changes you know what telephone is. I was not expecting Mint to be the person who killed Heather. That shit was crazy. This was a really good book. I had a hard time putting this one down. I took this shit to work with me. I was reading this shit while I was taking phone calls. Like, yes. If you're looking for a juicy thriller, definitely read this one. So at number 5, we have If You Tell by Gregg Olsen. I read the ebook version of this. I don't have a physical copy, and you know what? I'm glad that I don't, because dude, this book was so painful. It was so hard to finish. But the only reason that I have it as number 5 is because this was a really good non-fiction, true crime like type book. The reason why this was so hard to get through is because the subject of this book, Shelley Notek, is genuinely one of the most despicable people that you're ever gonna read about. Because this woman was literally, she was evil. She was evil. How she was allowed to procreate is just, it's insane to me, because she treated those children so badly, and she used people and manipulated them to the point where they would just cave to her every desire, and she would eventually murder them. This lady is free. She is not in jail anymore. She was in jail for a little bit, but she's out now. And if you read this book, you're literally gonna lose faith in a lot of systems, because it's like, how did this lady get away with this for so long? I think the reason why it's so high up on the list is because it's real, and like the horrors of what this lady did, like this shit actually happened. It's terrifying is what it is, okay? So if you want to know more about the monster that is Shelley Notek, you can either read this book or you can go and find her story online, because it's everywhere. This lady was evil and she murdered people. But anyway, moving on to my number 4 pick for this year, which was also disturbing but not real, thank God. Number 4 is Earthlings by Sayaka Murata. This was a Japanese story that was translated into English, and bro, I read this book 5 days ago. I finished it 5 days ago, and it has stuck to me. It has attached itself, and I'm still not sure what I read. I'm still not sure. Is the ending, bro. The ending. Okay, so what I really liked about this book is that it was a kind of a social commentary on what it's like to be an outsider when society insists that we should all have the same like plan for our life. We should all get married. We should all procreate, have children. And if you're not doing that, there's something wrong with you and you're an alien. Well, in this book, we're following Natsuki, which in the beginning of the book, she's like 11, and then later on she is like 33 or something, and she is married. But a lot happens between the beginning and the end of the book, and it's just all kinds of disturbing shit. Not only is this girl emotionally abused by her family, they're like so mean to her, and I want to strangle every single one of them. Her sister is a cunt also, another person who should be strangled. But this poor girl gets abused when she's in middle school, and no one seems to do anything to help her or save her. Her family actually kind of like doubles down and is like, no, you're just gonna keep going because we don't believe that you've been abused. You're just gonna keep attending lessons with this person. Who cares? Who cares that you're being abused? Whatever. And it gets dark. And then it gets darker. And then it somehow gets even darker. And like the way that this author describes like dissociation and making it this like fantastical thing that's happening to an 11-year-old, the way that it was like written, I'm surprised that it was like a translation, because you know sometimes translations can be a little wonky and like you don't really get like the entire message. It felt as though the writing really lent itself to like this childlike mindset for the main character. And yeah, bro, this book, I'm probably gonna be thinking about this book for months. The ending, bro, left me speechless. I was just sitting there like, my jaw was literally on the ground. I don't know what I was expecting for an ending, but this is probably the one time where I was like, yeah, dude. Read at your own risk, but it's high up on my list for a reason. That shit was wild. I was extremely uncomfortable after chapter 2, but somehow I couldn't put it down. I don't know what that says about me. Earthlings is honestly like nothing I've ever read before, but if anyone is into like manga, I would definitely recommend this to anyone who enjoyed Earthlings because it gave me like a similar vibe. Oh Yasumi, Poom Poom. Okay, good night, Poom Poom. I would definitely recommend this to someone who read Earthlings and was like, I want something in a similar vein. Definitely read this because it's disturbing and it will definitely also leave you with that, what the fuck did I just read vibe. So if you just finished Earthlings and you're looking for something that is similarly fucked up and will leave you in a state of disbelief, definitely this. Just don't ask me any questions, okay? Just do it. Number 3 is the second book of the Game of Thrones series, Clash of Kings. Man, what to say about this book? This series is fucking epic, okay? Obviously, if you've seen Game of Thrones, you know that this is an amazing story. But this book series, bro, it gives so much characterization to every single character in this book, and there's plot lines in here that didn't make the show that are just fully fleshed out in this. Bro, when I tell you, like, the journey of Daenerys in this book is insane. We also get to find out a lot more about what happened with Theon when he takes over Winterfell and all the fucked up shit that he did, and then Arya's adventures as well. Dude, there you can't even say anything bad about this book. Maybe he's a little overly detailed and he goes into the weeds a bit with the descriptions. That's fine. This shit, great period medieval fucking fantasy book. Love it. I'm looking for Storm of Swords in this edition. That's why I don't have it physically yet. I haven't started it. I love reading books physically. There's something about it. I will read some ebooks, but I just prefer physical media. Okay, so my top 2 are probably the most pretentious books, but also like the most challenging books that I've read this year. So we have at number 2, Invisible Monsters Remix by Chuck Palahniuk. This man is I love his sense of humor. Like the way that he writes the humor just fucking, it floats off the page. And this man really did his thing with this remix. Like anytime you have a chapter in a book where I have to fucking put it in front of a mirror to be able to read it, like, come on, bro. Pack it up, let's go home. I'm into it. Number 1 was probably my toughest read of the year. I loved it. I loved every second of it. It's still like, I still think about it, and I finished this in the beginning of the year. This was my book for January, House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. Dude, this book made my brain do backflips. Like, this shit right here. So I loved that there were like two storylines happening here at the same time, as well as like, I feel like there's a commentary to be made here about like academic papers and the way that you source them and all that. But the plot line with Johnny Truant and him literally losing his mind while we're also kind of trying to discover the mystery that is the house, bro. How is the house bigger inside than it is on the outside? Like, dude, this shit felt like a maze. This is what it feels like to be trapped inside a maze that only continues to grow. And dude, I had such a good time with this. And I'm not gonna lie, the only reason why I discovered this is because I found out that, you know, my favorite creator of games, video games right now, the writer for Alan Wake and Control, and yes, he took inspiration, heavy inspiration from House of Leaves. So I was like, I have to fucking read this shit. Let me tell you, I'm not the same. I'm not the same person I was when I started that book. I'm probably gonna revisit it for January and go on the ride all over again, because I haven't been able to stop thinking about the fucking book since I finished it, and I finished it in January. So I've spent 12 months just thinking about this damn book. But yes, thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting this channel when I didn't know if I was ever gonna come back. I know at some point I wanted to, but it's so friggin' hard to make content when you're having an internal like struggle with yourself. And you know, I think I figured it out. I think I know what I need in my life to feel creative and happy and stimulated, and I think we've made it, man. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. I hope you had great holidays, and I hope you have a wonderful new year. And we'll be back with some more content soon. I promise. I'm working on it. All right, bye.